My family threw a tantrum in a restaurant, humiliating me, without even knowing that the restaurant belonged to me. And what happened next turned their entire lives upside down. I'm Dara, 29, female. I didn't grow up in a normal family. I grew up in the Mitchells, Greenwich royalty, trust fund DNA, generational wealth polished so aggressively it blinded them to anything that wasn't Ivy League, courtroom bound, or tied to a hedge fund. My mother, Margaret, could passively judge someone just by blinking at them. My father, Richard, speaks in that calm, clipped tone people use when they're used to being obeyed. And Heather, my older sister, a Gucci rap tornado who believed the world was one giant LinkedIn page designed for her. Then there was me, Dara, the creative child, the difficult one, the phase they were waiting to outgrow me. And God, did they hate that kitchen brought me alive. I swear I can still feel the ghost of Elena's hands guiding mine as we kneaded dough in secret like we were doing something forbidden. Maybe we were. By the time I was 20, I knew food would save me, and knew my family would never forgive it. They proved me right when I dropped out of my MBA program to go to culinary school. They didn't yell, they didn't cry, they did something worse. They dismissed me. My mother calmly slid a checkbook back into her purse and said, "If you want to live like help, you can pay your own way." Heather laughed, honest to God laughed, because in her world, a chef was just a servant who wore a nicer uniform. My father's exact words were, "Don't expect to come crawling back when this fantasy collapses." So I packed my life into a single suitcase and left. Those years were brutal, burned scars up my arms, sleeping on a mattress so thin I could feel the metal frame, crying into a sink full of dishes so no one heard me. But every time I reduced a sauce to the perfect velvet consistency, or nailed a knife cut I'd spent weeks trying to master, I felt something I had never felt in my parents' house. Pride. Mine. Not borrowed, not conditional, not tied to a GPA or a job title. When Chef Laurent saw me, really saw me, it was like someone finally turned on the lights. 5 years later, after dozens of double shifts, countless burns, and one investor who believed in me more than my own blood ever had, I built something bigger than my parents could have imagined. Maison. A restaurant people waited months to get into, a place that carried my soul in every plate, and my family had no idea. That night, the night of Heather's engagement dinner, is where this whole avalanche begins. The night they walked straight into my world and tried to step on me all over again. I should have walked out the second I saw them sitting dead center under Maison's chandelier, the one I picked out myself, from a tiny artisan studio in Brooklyn, the one my mother would later call a bit bohemian.
Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. Thank you very much. Enjoy watching.
But no, I stood there in my black dress, pretending I wasn't about to step back into a role I'd outgrown years ago. Heather spotted me first. Of course she did. She has predator vision when it comes to opportunities to assert dominance. "There she is," she announced loud enough that half the restaurant turned. "We were wondering if you got lost or stuck in traffic on the subway." A little smirk. She loved reminding people I didn't live the same way she did. My mother leaned in to air kiss both my cheeks without actually touching me. "Darling," she said, scanning my dress like she was checking for defects. "You look, simple." Simple. The word hit like a slap. Bradley, Heather's fiancé, whom I'd met exactly once before this, stood, shook my hand like he was checking my grip strength for sport, and immediately launched into his credentials. "Wharton MBA, junior partner at Goldman," he said before I could even sit. Like I cared. My father gave me that slow, clinical once-over, then nodded. "You look healthy," he said, which again meant not thin enough. I sat. The chair I'd designed suddenly felt too small, like it belonged to another woman. They dove into small talk, like sharks scenting blood, wedding plans, guest lists, which political donors might attend the reception. Bradley bragged about how he had connections that made getting a reservation at Maison easy. "The manager owed a client of mine a favor," he said with that smug little tilt to his mouth. Meanwhile, every server in the room was pretending not to stare at me. They all knew who I was. But they also knew professionalism. They kept their masks on while my family poked and prodded at my dignity like it was an amuse-bouche they didn't order. And then came the worst part, the food, my food. Every dish that came out they picked apart like bored judges at a middle school science fair. My mother tapped her fork against the tomato terrine and said, a bit acidic. Heather refused to touch the amuse-bouche and muttered, "I don't do fermented stuff." Bradley sent back the duck because it was basically raw. He asked for it well done. Well done. I nearly choked. And, like clockwork, the conversation swerved into the same territory it always did when they needed an ego boost. Me, my failures, my choices. "So Dara," my mother said, as she took another sip of the champagne I personally sourced from a vineyard I visited last summer. "Tell us what you actually do these days. For work." "I'm working in food," I said simply. Calm, controlled. Heather snorted. "Still in that cooking phase?" I felt the old heat climb up my throat, that hot, humiliating flush they'd trained into me, that feeling of shrinking. Then Bradley, God bless his empty little skull, asked the question that made the entire table lean in like spectators at a car crash. "Can you even afford a place like this?" There it was. The line. The knife. I opened my mouth to speak when Marcus, my senior server, approached with perfect timing and placed the check on the table. For a moment, everything was normal. Bradley puffing up to pay, my father pretending not to be relieved. And then, "Wait," Bradley said, frowning. "They only charged us for the wine, not the food." He snapped his fingers at Marcus. Snapped. At a grown man. "Excuse me, there's a mistake." Marcus looked at the bill, then at me. And I gave him the smallest nod. "Showtime." "There's no error, sir," Marcus said. "The dinner has already been taken care of. By Miss Dara, as usual." 6 heads swung toward me, so fast I swear I heard a crack. My mother's face drained of blood. My father froze mid-breath. Heather's mouth dropped open. Bradley choked on air. Marcus bowed slightly. "Your usual table is available, Miss Dara, and Chef Miranda would like your opinion on the spring dishes." The air went still, like the universe inhaled and held it. I looked up at my family, and for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't the smallest person in the room. My family just stared at me. It's funny, I always imagined this moment would feel cinematic, triumphant, maybe even a little heroic. But standing there at that table, with 6 pairs of eyes trying to rewrite everything they thought they knew about me, it felt like I had just dropped a grenade in the middle of a garden party. My mother recovered first. She always did. "I'm sorry," she said, blinking rapidly, like the world had suddenly developed a glitch. "Your usual table?" Marcus, ever the professional, dipped his head slightly. "Miss Dara dines here weekly with investors and creative partners. We prepare one of the private rooms for her meetings." Heather gawked at me like I'd grown a second head. "What is happening right now?" I took a slow breath. My hands were steady. My voice didn't shake. "This is my restaurant," I said. "I own Maison." The silence that followed was so sharp it felt like stepping on broken glass. My father's brow furrowed. "You work here." "No," I said. "I own it. I'm the executive chef, the sole proprietor." Heather burst out laughing, hysterical, incredulous laughter that made nearby diners turn their heads. "You?" she gasped. "Dara, don't be ridiculous. This place is famous. It's in magazines." "Exactly," I said quietly. Bradley's chair screeched backward as he stood, staring at me like I had pulled off some kind of elaborate magic trick. "But you said you were just working in food. You were vague. Because I wanted to see how you'd treat me if you thought I was struggling." The words left my mouth calm, too calm, the kind of calm that follows years of swallowing hurt. My mother slowly set her champagne flute down, fingers trembling. That alone told me everything. Margaret Mitchell didn't tremble. "Dara," she whispered, "why wouldn't you tell us about this?" There it was. The shift. Not apology, not understanding, rebranding, repositioning, recalculating. I felt my jaw clench. "Because when I needed you to believe in me, you didn't. So I learned to believe in myself." Before they could respond, Chef Miranda appeared beside me, wiping her hands on her apron, mid-service, and glowing with that particular pride she tried to hide. "Sorry to interrupt," she said politely, "but the Warren investors are asking when you'd like to begin the tasting." My father's head whipped toward her. "Warren? As in Warren Capital?" Miranda nodded. "Yes, they're excited to fund the expansion." Bradley made a choking noise, like someone had yanked his financial ego straight out of his throat. I turned back to my family. "I really do need to check on the kitchen." I started to walk, but Heather shot up so fast, her chair toppled over, slamming onto the floor loud enough to make several guests flinch. "No," she snapped. "You don't get to walk away again, Dara." Her voice cracked. Not from anger, from panic, pure, ugly panic. Suddenly she grabbed my wrist, hard, nails digging into my skin. People were staring now. Phones were subtly lifted. Whispers began. "Why," she hissed, "why didn't you tell us you were doing all this? Do you know how stupid you made us look?" And there it was. Not, "We're proud of you." Not, "We treated you horribly." Not, "We were wrong." Just humiliation. Just how my success reflected on them. I yanked my wrist out of her grip. She stumbled a step, heels wobbling. "Careful," I said, "you don't want to fall." She did fall, not physically, but emotionally. Her face crumpled into something almost grotesque, a strange mix of rage, resentment, and fear. "You're still the same failure underneath," she spat, voice cracking. "Owning a restaurant doesn't change what you are." And that's when something inside me snapped. Not in anger, in clarity. "No," I said softly. "Owning a restaurant is the first time I get to be exactly what I am, without you defining it for me." Heather's eyes glistened, and for a split second, I saw her for what she really was. Someone who needed me to stay small, so she could stay big. My mother rose next, knocking into the table and nearly spilling a $200 bottle of wine. Something she never would have done if she were in control. "Dara, please. This isn't appropriate. People are watching." "Good," I said. "Let them." Heather lunged again. Actually lunged, like she was going to grab me, or shake me, or drag me back into the version of myself she understood. Bradley caught her arm, whispering something sharp and angry under his breath. My father finally found his voice. "Dara," he said, stepping forward. "Sit down. We need to talk. All of us." But there was something in his tone I recognized immediately. That old command. That expectation of obedience. I straightened. "No," I said. "Not like this." I'm going to my kitchen. You can stay here and finish tearing apart the food you didn't know was mine. And as I walked away, I realized something. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running. I was choosing myself. And that was the beginning of all the chaos that followed. Because my family, the Mitchells, they don't handle rejection well, especially not from the daughter they thought they'd already broken. I made it maybe 10 steps toward the kitchen before the sound hit me. Glass shattering. It came from behind, sharp, violent, unmistakably intentional. I turned just in time to see Heather standing over what used to be a wine glass, her chest heaving, her eyes wild. And the entire restaurant had gone dead. Dead silent. Bradley hissed her name like he was trying to wrangle a malfunctioning robot. Heather, Heather, stop. But she didn't even look at him. Her eyes were locked on me, like a sniper sighting a target. You don't get to humiliate us, she spat, pointing at me with a shaking finger. Not in public, Dara. Not like this. My pulse spiked. Not from fear, but from the surreal realization that this was actually happening. In my restaurant. In front of my staff, my investors, my customers. I stepped back, trying to keep my voice level. Heather, stop. You're making a scene. Oh, I'm the one making a scene, she laughed, sharp, hysterical, the kind that makes strangers inch their chairs away. You've been lying to us for years, hiding this, making us look like idiots. My mother rushed to her side, grabbing her arm, but Heather jerked it away so violently my mother stumbled into a chair. Gasps rippled around the room. My father rushed to steady her, and for a moment I thought Heather might actually throw another glass. Her hand gripped the stem of one on their table, knuckles whitening. And then she did. She hurled it. Not at me, thank God, but hard enough that it smashed against a pillar, spraying wine in shards across the hardwood floor. One shard skidded all the way to my foot. The entire restaurant froze. Bradley's face went pale. Jesus, Heather, what the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? She screamed, voice cracking. My sister's been playing undercover boss chef princess behind our backs, letting us sit here like idiots in a restaurant she owns, while we insult her food, while she watches us like... Her voice broke entirely, like she couldn't decide whether to cry or break something else. My staff hovered nearby, ready to intervene but waiting for my cue. Marcus stood between Heather and the nearest glassware, like a human shield. I took a breath I didn't know I was holding. Heather, I said firmly, this isn't about you. Oh, but it is, she shot back, stepping toward me in these jerky, unstable movements that set off every alarm in my head. Everything is about what you made us look like. You let me talk down to you. You let me belittle you. You let me think you were a failure. I didn't let you, I said quietly. You did that on your own. Her face twisted, something uglier than anger, something closer to devastation. You could have told us, she shouted. You could have trusted us. We're your family. You're the family who told me my dream was worthless, I said. Why would I give you the power to crush it again? That's when she snapped. She lunged, full-on lunged, reaching for me with this wild, desperate motion, like she wanted to grab my dress, my hair, anything she could hold on to. She actually got a handful of my sleeve, yanking me back so hard I lost my balance and slammed into one of the chairs. Pain shot up my hip. Servers rushed forward instantly. Marcus, Jose, even 2 line cooks who'd come out when they heard the shouting. They positioned themselves between us without hesitation. Bradley grabbed Heather around the waist, physically pulling her back, while she kicked and clawed at the air toward me. Let go of me! She shrieked, her voice shrill enough to rattle the wine glasses. I want to talk to her. Customers were filming now. I didn't even care. Let the Mitchell family meltdown go viral. Maybe the world should see what I grew up with. My father finally barked, Heather, that's enough, in a voice I had never heard him use on her. Not once. It stunned her just long enough for Bradley and my father to drag her back into her chair. Her hair was a mess, her mascara smudged, her chest heaving like she'd run a marathon. She looked utterly unhinged. My mother reached for her, voice trembling. Sweetheart, please. You're scaring people. Heather whispered, or snarled, it was hard to tell. She betrayed us. She betrayed our family. I straightened my dress sleeve, the one she'd nearly ripped off me. No, I said. I protected myself from you. Bradley scrubbed his hands down his face. This is insane. You're acting insane. Heather pointed at me again. That same trembling finger, that same shaky rage. I'm not done, she hissed, and I knew she meant it. But this moment, this explosion, this was where the real fracture happened. The crack that would widen into something much darker before any of this was over. Because Heather wasn't the only one who lost control that night. My parents did too. And what happened next blew everything open. Everything after that glass explosion became a blur of adrenaline and muscle memory. The kind that kicks in when you've spent years learning how to stay calm in chaos. But something fundamental had shifted in the room. The tension wasn't just uncomfortable anymore. It was dangerous. Heather was still breathing, like a cornered animal, when I finally said the words that cut the last string, holding this family facade together. You all need to leave. My father's head snapped toward me. Excuse me? You heard me, I said. This dinner is over. Take your things, get Heather home, and let my staff clean up the mess. My mother gasped softly, like I'd slapped her. Dara, this is your sister's engagement dinner. This, I gestured at the puddle of wine and shattered glass, is not an engagement dinner. This is a meltdown in a Michelin-rated dining room. Heather shot to her feet again, held back only by Bradley's grip on her shoulders. I am not leaving until I finish this conversation, she screamed, voice cracking. You owe us explanations. All of us. I stared at her. Whoa, my brilliant, polished, perfect sister. Now smeared mascara, hair tangled, chest heaving, looking like the embodiment of a childhood full of slammed doors and whispered threats. I don't owe you anything, I said. Not anymore. And that's when things took a darker turn. My mother, who had been quiet, too quiet, suddenly stepped around the table, her heels clicking sharply. She stopped inches from me. Her voice was low, controlled, terrifyingly composed. You will not embarrass this family further, Dara. Not. Are you okay? Not. Heather needs help. Not. I'm sorry for the scene we caused. No. She was worried about optics, about the Mitchell name being associated with whatever this was. And that was the moment the revenge started writing itself in my head, because up until then, I still believed there was a version of my family worth reconciling with. But the second she tried to weaponize family reputation against me, in my restaurant, something inside me crystallized. Embarrass? I echoed. You've already done that, publicly, violently. My father stepped forward too. Dara, don't escalate. Oh, I'm not escalating, I said. But I'm also not cleaning up your image anymore, Heather thrashed again, pointing a shaking hand toward a group of diners filming us. If any of that goes online, she shouted, I'll sue every single person in this room. My staff stiffened. My father hissed, Heather, stop. No, she barked back. This is your fault, Dara. You set us up. You wanted to watch us look stupid? She was unhinged, unfiltered, raw. But my mother? She leaned in closer, lowering her voice to a venomous whisper. Only I could hear. If you care about this place's reputation, you will fix this, quietly. Oh, that was it. She thought she could threaten Maison. She thought she could leverage my life's work, the one thing I built without them, to force me back into their orbit, back into silence. The laugh that escaped me was small, sharp, not amused, exhausted. You can't touch this place, I said, softly. You have no power here. You think that, she whispered, but reputation spreads. People talk. And that's when I felt the click, the emotional click, the internal shift. The moment the revenge finally took form, clean, sweet, poetic. Because if they cared so damn much about reputation, about status, about appearances, then that was exactly what I would use. Not to humiliate them, but to show them without mercy the truth they refused to see. I didn't belong to them anymore, and I would never be their shame again. I took a step back, raised my head, and spoke loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. Everyone, thank you for your patience. This family's leaving now, and their bill has been settled. Drinks are on the house for anyone disturbed by the scene. Applause broke out. Actual applause, Heather shrieked. My mother went sheet white, and my father, the man who prided himself on control, lost it for the first time in my life. He slammed his hand on the table so hard silverware jumped. Dara, get over here right now. No, I said simply, and the room erupted. When my father slammed his hand on the table, the sound cracked through the restaurant like gunfire. Customers flinched. A baby started crying. Jose instinctively stepped forward, like he expected someone to throw another glass, but I didn't move. Not an inch. My father wasn't used to that. Dara, he growled, his voice low and deadly. You are coming with us, now? There it was again. That entitlement, that lifelong belief that he could command me like a corporate intern, like I was still some kid grounded for getting a B+. No, I said, calm, steady. I'm not going anywhere with you. Heather let out a deranged laugh, mascara streaks giving her this unhinged raccoon effect. She thinks she's better than us now, because she owns a restaurant, a little kitchen. It wasn't the words, it was the tone, the acidic disbelief that I had evolved without their permission. And then she did something I will never forget. She grabbed a centerpiece, a floral arrangement, in a ceramic vase I commissioned from an artisan in upstate New York, and hurled it across the room. It exploded against the floor. Water, petals, shards of hand-thrown ceramic, everywhere, gasps, screams, people scrambling their chairs back. Look, my mother shrieked, Heather, stop! Bradley swore under his breath and tried to restrain her again. My staff looked at me like, say the word, and we will remove them physically. That was when I realized how lucky I was to have built a family that chose me. My kitchen staff, my servers, my team. While the one I was born into tried to destroy everything I touched. My father grabbed his coat. We're leaving, he barked. Heather, Margaret, Brad. No, my mother snapped, and the twist made my stomach drop. Not until Dara apologizes to them. For revealing the truth of my success, I stared at her like she had slapped me across the face. I opened my mouth, ready to say something sharp, something final, when Marcus approached quietly and whispered, Chef, the Warren investors have stepped out of the private dining room. They're asking if you're safe. I turned. 3 men in suits stood there, watching with obvious concern. 2 others behind them, my investors, my partners, people who valued me. And behind them, diners were still filming, capturing my family's meltdown from multiple angles. This would spread. It would spread fast. Heather realized it too. She shrieked at a woman holding her phone. "Delete that! Do you know who I am?" The woman blinked. Someone having a breakdown in public? Heather lunged, but Bradley held her back with both arms. This time. That was it. I inhaled deeply, then spoke so every corner of Maison could hear. "Please escort them outside." Marcus nodded. My mother's face drained. No, you wouldn't dare. But I had already dared. 2 servers and a line cook, gently but firmly, positioned themselves between my family and the rest of the dining room. They weren't touching them, but they were creating a barrier. Customers clapped again, louder this time. My father puffed up like a furious peacock. "This is humiliating. You're humiliating us." "No," I said. "You humiliated yourselves." They stood there, frozen, stunned, as if waiting for me to break, to back down, to restore the old power dynamic. But I didn't. Not even when Heather screamed my name like a curse. Not even when my mother started crying, quiet, manipulative tears. Not even when my father said, "You'll regret this, Dara." I didn't flinch. I didn't fold. They finally left, dragged more by circumstance than choice, with whispers following them out the door and cell phones recording the entire exit. As soon as the door closed behind them, the dining room erupted into chatter. My knees almost buckled from the adrenaline, but I forced a steady breath. I was shaking, but not with fear, with release. For the first time in my life, I had power. And for the first time in their lives, they had consequences. Update 1, posted later that night. Okay, I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I'm writing this from my office because I'm too wired to go home. First, thank you for the insane amount of support. I'm still scrolling through the comments, and holy hell, some of you are funny. My favorite so far. "Your sister threw a vase like she was auditioning for Real Housewives, Greenwich edition." Accurate. Another commenter said, "Next time, charge them a cleaning fee. $500 per tantrum." Tempting. And yes, to everyone asking, my staff is fine. They're legends. They handled everything like pros. But I need to be honest. I'm shaken. Not because of the chaos. I've survived worse in kitchens. But because tonight showed me something brutal. My family would rather destroy my reputation than admit they were wrong about me. I've spent years hoping someday they'd apologize or soften or try. Instead, they broke a vase, screamed at strangers, threatened lawsuits, and tried to drag me out of my own business. I don't know what comes next. But I do know this. I'm not done protecting myself. And I'm not done making sure they understand that I'm no longer their punching bag. Part 7 will be rough, very rough. Because the Mitchells don't accept defeat quietly, and their next move, it crossed a line I didn't even know they were capable of. I barely slept the night after the meltdown. I kept replaying the image of Heather hurling that vase, my mother crying theatrically, my father barking orders like I was still some disobedient middle schooler. I thought that was the worst of it. The worst they could do. I was wrong. Oh God, I was so wrong. The next morning I walked into Maison earlier than usual, just to check on things. I wanted to make sure the floor was spotless, that the plants were watered, that my staff didn't carry any emotional residue from the night before. But the second I stepped inside, something felt off. A cold draft, a soft sound I couldn't identify. And then I saw it. A chair overturned. A napkin dispenser lying on the floor. A faint smear of something dark on the bar counter. My stomach dropped. "Hello?" I called out, voice suddenly small in the empty restaurant. "Anyone here?" No answer. I walked deeper, toward the dining room. And that's when I saw the real damage. Tablecloths ripped, a stack of menus thrown across the floor, salt shakers smashed, a vase broken, different from the one last night. This wasn't leftover chaos. This was new. This was fresh. And then I found the note. White paper, black marker, taped to the wall where the floral arrangement had exploded the night before. 3 words written in jagged strokes. "You started this." My hands went ice cold. My first thought was, Heather. My second thought was, no, this is too reckless, even for her. But then I remembered her eyes the night before. The way she lunged, the way she screamed that I betrayed the family. And suddenly, yeah, this felt exactly like her. I heard footsteps behind me and spun around, heart in my throat. But it was just Miranda holding a coffee she'd brought for us both. The second she saw the room, she froze. Jesus, Dara, what happened? I handed her the note with a shaking hand. She read it, jaw tightening. This wasn't kids. This wasn't a break-in. This is personal. I nodded. It's them. Call the police, she said immediately. I can't, I murmured. Not yet. Dara, she said, voice sharp. They vandalized your restaurant. I swallowed hard. I need to confirm it was them. If I call the police now, it'll blow up and they'll spin it. They'll say someone else did it, that I'm exaggerating. You know how they are. Miranda's face softened. You're scared of them. No, I said. I'm scared of what they'll do next. We cleaned quietly. The whole time, that note burned in my pocket like a threat with a pulse. Around 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. Heather's voice, hoarse, shaky, but still dripping with that old entitlement. You think you can throw us out like trash and just walk away? You embarrassed me, Dara. You humiliated our entire family. Everyone's seen the videos. People are calling me. Lawyers are calling me. Fix this, right now. Call me back or I swear you'll regret this. I played it twice. Miranda listened over my shoulder, eyes widening. She sounds unstable, she whispered. She is, I said quietly. Always has been. You should play that for the police, she urged. Not yet, I repeated. I need one more piece of proof. And right then, as if summoned by the devil himself, my phone buzzed again, this time with a text. From Allison, Ethan's wife. The only one last night who seemed genuinely horrified. Her text was frantic. Dara, I don't know what Heather told you, but she left the house early this morning. She was screaming about fixing the narrative. She took Richard's spare keys. I'm so sorry. Please be careful. My breath stopped. She had keys, I whispered. Miranda's eyes flew wide. Oh my God, she had keys. Dara, this was her. And then the fury hit. Not fear, not disappointment, rage, hot and clean and clarifying. Because vandalizing my restaurant wasn't just a tantrum. It wasn't just lashing out. It was trespassing. It was intimidation. It was a message. But the Mitchells underestimated one very important thing. I wasn't powerless anymore. I wasn't 16-year-old Dara being told her dreams were stupid. I wasn't the daughter begging for someone to take her seriously. I was a business owner, a chef, a woman with a team, investors, lawyers, and a public that had already taken my side, loudly. And if Heather wanted to fix the narrative, fine. I'd fix it for her, starting with the sweetest revenge I had ever planned in my life. Domestic, poetic, public. A revenge built not on destruction, but on truth. A truth my family had run from for years. And the best part? They handed me the opportunity themselves. By the time Maison opened for dinner that night, the dining room was sparkling again, not a shard of shattered ceramic in sight. But beneath the polished surfaces, an electric tension buzzed in my chest. Heather had vandalized my restaurant. She'd left an actual threat taped to my wall. My parents were pretending nothing happened. And the internet? Oh, the internet was having a field day. Videos of her meltdown had hit TikTok, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, everywhere. Titles like Engagement Dinner, Turns into Michelin Star WWE Moment, Real Housewives of Greenwich Pilot Episode, When the Black Sheep Turns Out to be a Wolf. Millions of views, people DMing me, sending memes, asking for reservations. Maison was booked solid for 6 months within 24 hours, but I didn't want fame. I wanted closure. And I wanted my revenge. Clean, sweet, poetic. It arrived sooner than I expected. Around noon, the next day, my phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. Can you meet? It's important. Just us, please. I agreed. Against better judgment. We met in a quiet corner of a small cafe, one he picked far away from Greenwich eyes. When he arrived, he looked shattered, like he hadn't slept, like he'd aged 5 years in one night. Dara, he said, sinking into the chair. I don't know where to start. How about the part where Heather destroyed my restaurant? I said coldly. He winced. I know. Allison told me everything. She tried to stop her. She had keys, I said. Keys your father gave her. He nodded slowly, shamefully. Dad keeps a spare set for special events. Heather knew where they were. She took them. When she came home, she was different. Like she wasn't even fully conscious of what she'd done. I stayed silent, let him talk. She thinks you ruined her life, he said weakly. She thinks you made her a public joke. I blinked. She did that on her own. I know. His voice cracked. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dara. For all of it. For how we treated you. For not seeing you. For not protecting you. For letting them push you out. It hurt to hear. It hurt more because he meant it. But apology wasn't the reason he asked to meet. He reached into his jacket and placed something on the table. A phone. Heather's phone. Unlocked. The screen already opened to a video file. What is this? I asked. His eyes filled with guilt. Proof. I pressed play. It was Heather. Filming herself in my restaurant at dawn. Pacing. Panicking. Ranting. Tears streaming. Makeup smeared. I'm fixing this, she sobbed into the camera. Dara humiliated us. She humiliated me. She thinks she's better than us now. I just need to make her see. I need to show her she can't pull away from this family. Then she looked directly into the camera, face contorted. She belongs to us, not to them, not to that restaurant. She turned the camera around, showing herself, ripping tablecloths, smashing the second vase, dragging a chair across the floor. I'm taking back control. She can't do this to us. She can't. The video ended. I sat there, stunned, adrenaline turning my fingertips numb. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm giving this to you. Do what you need to do. I stared at him. Why? Because, he whispered, I don't want to lose my sister. Not you, and not her. My throat tightened. But that video? That was my weapon. My protection. My revenge. And I knew exactly how to use it. The sweet part was that I didn't lift a single malicious finger. All I did was post a soft, graceful statement on Maison's official Instagram page. A picture of my hands, burn-scarred, steady, plating a dish. The caption, to everyone who reached out after last night, thank you. Maison will always be a place of respect and integrity. We handled an incident involving a distressed individual who later came forward, acknowledged responsibility, and is now seeking help. We ask for privacy and compassion as their family addresses this matter. I didn't name her. I didn't shame her. I didn't expose the video. I just let the public fill in the blanks. And, oh, did they fill them? News blogs speculated. Twitter detectives, though, dug through the viral meltdown clips. Influencers analyzed the body language. People recognized Heather from the videos. My DMs blew up with, "Is it the sister? Is the bride having a breakdown? This is Heather Mitchell, right? From Greenwich?" Heather's name trended. And for once, it wasn't because she was impressive. Within hours, her law firm issued a statement distancing themselves. Bradley's firm started reviewing her conduct. Wedding vendors pulled out, citing concerns about public reputation. Sponsors of their wedding charities backed out. Her influencer friends unfollowed her. And then, Heather called, 23 missed calls, then 34, then 60. She left voicemails, sobbing, screaming, begging, bargaining. "Dara, please, take it down. Tell them it wasn't me. You owe me this. You ruined my wedding. Please, I can't breathe. Fix this." I listened to exactly 2 of them. Then I blocked her. Sweet revenge doesn't need to be violent. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting people choke on the consequences of their own behavior. Update 2. Hey everyone, it's me again, checking in because things evolved. First, thank you for all the wild suggestions. Someone said, put a restraining order on the whole zip code. Honestly, not a bad idea. A quick rundown. Heather's wedding is postponed indefinitely. Bradley broke off the engagement. Apparently, he didn't like being dragged into a scandal. Heather checked herself into an outpatient program. And before anyone asks, yes, I am glad she's getting help. My mother hasn't stopped emailing me essays about misunderstandings and family unity. My father sent one text. Do not speak publicly. This can still be salvaged. I didn't bother replying. And Ethan? He brought his kids to Maison's kitchen. He hugged me, really hugged me. He said he's done being the family mediator, and that he's proud of me. My final thought, I didn't destroy my family. They destroyed themselves when they chose ego over love. All I did was finally step out of the fire they kept dragging me into. And now, I'm free.